Some judges made headlines by raising their voices, but Frank Caprio became famous by lowering the temperature. In Providence, a ticket was rarely just a ticket. It was someone's whole week collapsing in public. This countdown replays 15 Judge Frank Caprio moments that proved kindness could still win. Subscribe and keep this channel on standby for the most human moments ever caught on record. Number 15. The $400 grief case that made millions believe again. A municipal traffic docket turned into something much bigger when a mother came in carrying grief instead of excuses. In the Associated Press retelling of Caprio's most viral clips, the moment centered on a woman whose son had been killed, with tickets and fines totaling $400. The camera caught what made Caprio different. He listened like the story mattered more than the paperwork. Then the ruling landed, quiet and final. He dismissed the fines, and the clip traveled because it looked like a public institution recognizing human limits. No theatrics, no victory lap, just a judge deciding that piling punishment onto tragedy was not justice. It hit older viewers especially hard because it felt like an earlier America for a few minutes, the one where authority sounded like decency, not contempt. Number 14. Victor Colella, 96 years old, and the School Zone camera. A School Zone speed camera case did not sound like the setup for tears until Victor Colella stepped forward. Colella was 96 years old and explained that he had been driving his handicapped son, Richard, who had cancer, to blood work. CBS News later revisited the case and captured the real weight of it, a father still showing up for his child at an age when most people could barely manage their own errands. Caprio dismissed the case and the moment became bigger than traffic law. CBS reported that Caprio and Colella later reunited, and Colella was then 101 years old. In that reunion, Colella told Caprio, "The best friend I ever had, God bless you. I hope you live to be my age and over." It was funny, but it also showed what Caprio built. Strangers left his courtroom feeling seen. Number 13. The cancer battle that turned his courtroom into a worldwide prayer chain. Fame arrived late for Caprio, and it arrived because people trusted his sincerity. When he publicly faced pancreatic cancer, that trust came back to him at full volume. On June 24, 2024, CBS News reported that Caprio had completed treatment a few weeks earlier, and the story framed him as a judge whose compassion had become a global habit for viewers. The response was staggering. CBS described thousands of letters and gifts, plus messages from famous fans including actors Viola Davis and Sebastian Maniscalco and singer Jewel. The moment was iconic because it flipped the usual script. Instead of a celebrity receiving praise for a performance, a judge received support for a lifetime of treating ordinary people like they mattered. In a world trained to expect institutions to feel cold, Caprio made warmth look credible, even in crisis. Number 12. Parked. 2 seconds early, and the entire courtroom lost it. A timestamp turned into comedy history when a woman named Sarah challenged a parking ticket that was basically a stopwatch prank. Inside Edition reported that the no parking window ran from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock in the morning, and Sarah believed she parked at 10. The ticket said 9:59:58 a.m., 2 seconds before it became legal. Caprio laughed, then made the lesson sting in the right direction. He explained that if the ticket had been paid within 14 days, it would have been $30. That detail mattered because it showed how small mistakes could snowball into real stress. Then he dismissed it, leaning into what he often called the rule of common sense. The clip went viral because it felt like someone in power finally admitted what everybody else was thinking. 2 seconds was not justice, it was nonsense. Number 11. The breakfast verdict. When a kid helped decide mom's fate. The most unforgettable Caprio moments often had a child standing beside him, suddenly treated like the most important person in the room. Time magazine described how Caprio sometimes brought a defendant's child to the bench and even offered them options for a fine. In one case, a 6-year-old girl was asked to help decide her mother's parking penalty, and she picked a reduced fine. Then Caprio pulled the signature move. He offered a deal, breakfast instead of punishment. Time quoted him saying, "She buys you breakfast when you leave and I'll dismiss the case. Is that a good deal?" Rhode Island Monthly also described this exact habit. When a child said they had not eaten, Caprio sometimes told the parent to spend the fine money on breakfast instead. It turned court into a family memory, and it taught the point without humiliation. Engagement break. Before we continue, which Caught in Providence clip felt the most unforgettable years later? Did you first find Caprio on local television or through a shared clip online? Drop a comment and let us know where you are watching from. Number 10. The foster mother who raised 27 kids and got mercy back. Sometimes Caprio's most iconic move was simply asking one more question. In an Associated Press story about mourners remembering him, Providence resident Frida Adams recalled coming before Caprio over a parking ticket. Caprio asked her for her story, and she told him she had been a foster mother to 27 children over the years. That one fact changed the entire temperature of the room. Adams said Caprio told her she did not have to pay. The moment worked because it was not charity for someone asking for pity. It was recognition for someone who had carried other people's burdens for decades. For viewers in the 45 to 75 range, it landed like a moral ledger being balanced in real time. The system did not just take, for once it noticed what you had already given. Number 9. Daddy is guilty and the kids threw the book at him. Not every viral Caprio clip was heavy. Some were pure family comedy with a life lesson tucked inside. In a widely shared Caught in Providence segment titled Daddy's Guilty, the description explained that a dad had 2 school zone violations and his daughters basically prosecuted him. The joy of it was watching the judge let the kids tell the truth without fear. Caprio's genius in these moments was control without cruelty. He kept the courtroom laughing, but he also made accountability feel safe. A parent could admit fault without being crushed, and kids could see the law as something real, not something scary. The moment played like classic neighborhood storytelling, the kind older viewers grew up with, except it happened in a real court, with real consequences hovering in the background. Caprio made the background disappear just long enough for the lesson to stick. Number 8. The kid who wanted to stop aging and accidentally won the court. Some episodes felt like a talent show sneaking into traffic court. In a clip described as "This kid will make history," the Caught in Providence upload summary said a child wanted to invent a machine that stops aging, and the idea impressed the court and Caprio. It was the kind of moment that reminded viewers what Caprio was really watching for: character, imagination, and innocence. The case itself almost became secondary to the way Caprio handled the kid. He treated the child's big dream like it belonged in the room, even with adults waiting behind him on the docket. That is why these clips kept spreading. They did not just show a judge being lenient, they showed a judge being curious. For a generation raised on stern authority figures, seeing a judge encourage a child's wild idea felt radical. It turned the bench into a place that sounded like hope. Number 7. Preston wanted to be a cop and Ziggy met the Michael Jordan of pizza. The show had a secret weapon beyond Caprio, his court officer Robert Ziggy Quinn, who played the straight man to Caprio's warmth. In a Caught in Providence clip titled "Preston and the Pizza Delivery Guy," the description said Preston wanted to be a cop, and Caprio and Ziggy met the Michael Jordan of pizza delivery guys. It was pure local color, the kind of character-driven humor that made the courtroom feel like a neighborhood block party. This is where Caprio's style became addictive. He could turn a routine appearance into a moment of pride for a kid and a moment of dignity for a working guy without mocking either one. The laughter was not at them, it was with them. Older viewers recognized the vibe instantly. It sounded like the old corner store era, where everybody had a nickname and everybody got a chance to be somebody for a minute. Number 6. The unruly kid moment and the defendant who tried to Google the judge. Caprio's courtroom was gentle, but it was never predictable. In a clip titled "An Unruly Kid" and "Google Me," the description said a little boy came up to help the judge and a young defendant had some choice words for the police. That contrast, cute kid innocence next to adult frustration, was basically the entire Caught in Providence formula in one package. Caprio handled moments like that by reframing the energy. He did not deny the defendant's emotions, but he did not let anger run the room either. Then the Google Me vibe kicked in, the modern world colliding with an old-school judge who had heard everything. It was funny, but it also showed why Caprio went viral so late in life. He was not trying to be contemporary, he was just steady, and the internet finally caught up to how refreshing steadiness sounded. Engagement break. Before we continue, which part of Caprio's style hit you most? The humor, the mercy, or the old-school respect? Did these clips remind you of the way authority figures used to talk back in the day? Drop a comment and tell us what city and state you are watching from. Number 5. December 12, 2017, when Fox bought the kindest courtroom in America. A local court show becoming national news sounded impossible until the numbers forced everyone to pay attention. On December 12, 2017, Broadcasting and Cable reported that Debmar Mercury sold Caught in Providence to the Fox-owned television stations. The report also said Caprio had already captured more than 1 billion views through the show's YouTube channel, run by City Life Productions and his brother Joseph. The detail that made the moment feel iconic was how ordinary it still sounded. The same article described everything from kids helping decide verdicts to people doing handstands in the middle of court. That mix, sincerity plus chaos, was the exact tone that made the series feel real. Viewers did not tune in for legal technicalities, they tuned in to watch a judge treat people like neighbors. In 2017, that became marketable. Not because it was trendy, but because it was rare. Number 4, Ziggy Quinn, the straight man who made the warmth land harder. Caprio was the heart, but every great show needed rhythm. His court officer, Robert Ziggy Quinn, gave Caprio's compassion its contrast, like a classic comedy duo where one guy keeps the room grounded. Across hundreds of Caught in Providence clips, Ziggy's deadpan presence turned the tedium of traffic court into something viewers came back to week after week. Ziggy also made the courtroom feel safe. Defendants were not facing an abstract state, they were facing two familiar faces, one stern, one soft. That balance let Caprio be merciful without seeming weak, and let him be firm without seeming cruel. For older viewers, it echoed classic television dynamics, the straight man and the wise guy, except it happened in real life, with real stakes. That is why clips felt rewatchable. It was not just rulings, it was chemistry. Number 3, the rule of common sense, the phrase that explained everything. Caprio's decisions looked spontaneous, but the pattern was consistent. Time magazine reported that he leaned on what he called the rule of common sense. An Inside Edition captured the same spirit in the 2-second parking case. That phrase mattered because it was the opposite of what people expected from government. Most viewers were used to systems that hid behind procedure, even when the outcome was obviously unfair. Common sense did not mean anything goes. It meant the punishment should not be worse than the problem. It meant listening long enough to understand the circumstances, then deciding whether enforcement served the public or just satisfied paperwork. For the 45 to 75 audience, that felt like an older value returning discretion. Caprio made discretion look honorable again. The result was a kind of comfort television, because every clip promised the same thing: somebody would finally be treated like a person. Number 2, February 4th, 2025, the memoir that put the bench philosophy on paper. Caprio's legacy was not only video clips, it became a book you could hand to someone who needed hope. His memoir, Compassion in the Court: Life-Changing Stories from America's Nicest Judge, was published by Ben Bella Books on February 4th, 2025. Rhode Island Monthly ran an excerpt that showed exactly where the courtroom style came from, his father's values, and the way poverty shaped his empathy. The excerpt included one of the clearest roots of his compassion. Caprio recalled his father putting a hand on his shoulder and telling him that someday he would be a lawyer, then adding there was one thing: he could not charge poor people like them because there would be enough rich people to pay him. The same excerpt described Caprio telling struggling defendants, "I'm rooting for you." That line turned a legal proceeding into a human exchange. It was the Caprio style in one sentence: accountability stayed on the table, but despair did not. Number 1, put yourself in their shoes, and the courtroom became a community. Caprio's final iconic message was not a punchline, it was a principle. In a CBS News profile dated June 24, 2024, Caprio explained that he tried to consider the circumstances surrounding the people before him. He tied it directly to his father's advice: when someone appears before you, put yourself in their shoes, imagine it is you before them, and decide how you would want to be treated. The Associated Press captured the same worldview in a single line from Caprio's 2017 remarks: "We can dispense justice without being oppressive." That is why these moments lasted. They were not just viral clips, they were evidence that authority could still be humane. For millions of viewers, especially the ones who remembered a more personal era of public life, Frank Caprio, who died on August 20th, 2025 at age 88 of pancreatic cancer, felt like a reminder the law could still be firm and the person could still be respected in the same breath.